So that's a Stephen move. When Harriet Tubman never actually freed the slaves. She just had the slaves go work for other white people.
Y'all, we leaving right now.
Yeah, okay, Kanye. It's complicated. Well, hello. It seems like we've all made it another week without nuclear annihilation, at least if you're listening to me right now. COVID's doing a pretty good job of at least doing a doozy still on the United States. I believe numbers are going to climb everywhere, but they're going to just be exponential in the United States until we get a change of leadership. And it's not just going to be to a change of leadership, it's going to have to be down to, a changing in the mindset of the citizens. But as you heard, Kanye, was there to save us. So there's still hope. And on top of it, per, I think it was Mike Wallace's interview this weekend, we also know that Trump can still identify that an elephant is indeed called an elephant. So all is well in the world and there is nothing to worry about. Yes, so there we have it. This week, I thought I would elaborate. It's a good jumping point because I got a question from one of my listeners, which I will read. And I thought it was a good point for me to do some jumping off on technology talk and the state of the world, how we got there, where we're going, economics, all of that fun stuff, because everything is in flux right now. But let's start with the question that I got from, he's calling himself Don Cab, and I'll jump off on my tangent from there. But he wrote and asked, bit of an IT nerd question. Do you think the rise of cloud computing in the corporate world stands a chance to put a dent in the economic power of nations that possess the raw materials required to build hardware like India and China? I'm no expert in any way, but I was thinking that more cloud equals less hardware required. I could be way off here. Well, it's a good question. Thank you for sending it in. I always love interacting with people. But it's not really about, I know last week I was talking about the reason why that China and India is so important, because they have access to the raw materials much more easily than a lot of the Western countries in order to build your cell phones, your laptops, your mainframes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's more to it than just that, why they're such economic powerhouses. They're not economic powerhouses just because they have the manufacturing ability and resource ability. It is true that countries can have economic power because they have resources or manufacturing capabilities that make them necessary partners to other people in the world. But there's more to it than that, because as much as we'd like to think that we're not, the entire world does run on a capitalist model. It just does. So even if you are a country that is a socialist or a communist country, you want to definitely be selling your goods to other people who are outside of your country, because that's just income for you. It's income for you. On top of it, countries that may not agree with you, who may not like your politics, are still going to want to do business with you, especially if you have so many users or potential customers like China and India does. So cloud computing, whereas it does make a lot of things cheaper because you don't need to own data centers and you don't necessarily have to have the cost of ownership for the computing, the data centers, the mainframes, and all of that stuff, it doesn't necessarily change it doesn't necessarily put a dent in the economic power of nations that possess the raw materials. believe me, there's always going to be a better pony, better horse, better machine, better whatever coming down the line. And I guarantee you that a lot of countries are already trying to think of other ways in order to improve technology without having to rely, in order to find other materials and other ways to store information and process information. So just because a country has access to the raw materials, believe me, when there's a will, there's a way. What's really going to make a difference in the world when it comes to economic power, and always kind of has, and is what the United States has relied on, is ingenuity and ideas. So the United States is not a manufacturing powerhouse. It hasn't been for a very, very long time. But what we've sold to the rest of the world is our ideas, our innovation, our applications, our computing, our medical ideas. We sell ideas to the rest of the world, and then we get the rest of the world to build the actual hardware for us in order to incorporate those ideas. Programming is now starting to be, offshored. That's a polite way of saying taking jobs away from the United States. But software development has been offshored. So you can have an idea here. And you can just jump on so many different forums right now, like Fiverr, like, oh my God, what's the other one? Elance, but I think it's called something else now. And you can hire somebody in Bangladesh who's got coding skills to make an app for you, a software program, just based off of your ideas because they have the coding knowledge. So the real economic thing that's changed in the whole world is actually the internet and access to the internet. And this is where access to the internet and the fact that the internet is a real great leveler across the world is what's hurting the United States in a lot of ways when it comes to innovation, when it comes to making money. Part of that reason is because here in the United States, it's kind of not valued. Education is valued, like everybody should go to college and get a degree. But genuine education, just being good in school, is not something that's really held in high regard here. Whereas in other countries, such as in Asian countries and such as in Africa even, being able to go to school and get an education is something that's families want for their kids. And it's something that's extremely, extremely important for you to get good grades, learn, become a doctor, become, a computer programmer, do something with yourself and your education that you get. It's so important. And kids will, walk for miles and miles and miles and miles to get education. And here in the United States, we take it for granted. I mean, if you see what is expected out of grade school and high school students in order to just pass in comparison to their peers across the world, it's embarrassing. And it's why we are falling behind when it comes to education and knowledge and a lot of things like that. The internet is a great leveler because one thing that we are catching on, at least here in the United States and probably in other places in the West, is that you don't necessarily need to go to a formal school in order to become educated. You don't need to go to a formal school in order to learn how to be a programmer. You don't need to go to a formal school to learn anything about physics or about chemistry. If you have access to stuff, you can be self-taught. And as the internet spreads across the world and people have more access to it, they have more access to be able to self-educate. And that's why in a lot of countries, they put firewalls in place and try to block things so that when you have education, when you give people the ability to be able to ask questions and learn for themselves, sometimes they start asking some really hard questions. And I really think that people who don't have such easy access to education, when they're able to do it, do far more with less. I mean, you hear about kids in Africa who are able to provide electricity to their village just by reading some things that they saw on the internet and being able to build a generator. I mean, it's amazing. It's great. Now, I don't want to put down American children. That's not my point in doing that because it's not their fault. Every kid can be brilliant. Well, not every kid. I mean, there's some people who just, for reasons we don't want to talk about, they have no chance of ever being brilliant and they can't help it. But there is no nation or race or anything like that that's smarter than the other. It's all based down to access of education and encouragement from the community around them to learn. And that's something that, we take for granted in the United States because we have access to education, but it's not necessarily top tier or very good education unless you can pay for it. And there's a lot of children out there and this also applies to adults, because you can learn, you can be a lifelong learner. You can learn for the rest of your life. You can reinvent yourself. I mean, hell, I'm trying to reinvent myself right now by doing a lot of research on topics I don't know much about, like photography and videography, which wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you know what's coming up. But you can always do lifelong learning and educate yourself. But I think here in the United States, we take it for so much granted, just so many things, that we don't realize what a gift and how important education is, and how easy the internet actually makes it for you to become more educated, more curious, more knowledgeable about things. And this is where we're falling behind. This is where the economic leveler will be, because if we don't catch up, and I know I've got international people who are listening to this, so I am coming from a very American-centric view, and I apologize, and please write in, send me a question or whatever if you want to discuss this, but I come from a very American-centric view of the world. I can't help it. As traveled as I've been, I grew up as an American, and I can only speak from what I've seen here. And it's never been a culture, at least as far as when I've been growing up, where we really laud education. Because if we did, we would have much tighter standards than we do for how kids can graduate and go to the next level. And we'd have really standardized education across the United States, which we don't. Basically, if you have money, you have access to a really good education. If you don't, good luck. Good luck. You're going to get whatever you can get in whatever district that you are living in. And as we know, there's equality is something that we kind of have a problem with in the United States. So what's going to happen, or what could happen, is that with other countries opening up to having the internet, and when I say opening up, that doesn't mean that there still aren't things that are filtered or censored that you can't have access to, which I might touch on in a little bit for talking about Thailand, my experiences in Thailand, because you'll find that very interesting. But that means that there's more people that, so long as they can get an internet connection and they're patient, they can learn whatever they want. They can learn whatever they want. And let me tell you, there's people who are struggling out there who are going to take that knowledge and do something with themselves, because the United States has always been known for their knowledge workers, but we've done a lot to put that down in the past, 10 to 15 years, and that's hurting us. By us putting our manufacturing over to other places, they have more access to learning from their mistakes on the manufacturing level. So that's meaning that they're going to be more innovative and learn from mistakes, because we may tell you what to manufacture, but we aren't actually doing it. So if there's a problem on the manufacturing line, we're not there to actually solve it. But you know what? They're solving it over there in China. They're solving it over there in India. We're not the ones who are actually solving it. On top of it, we've got, as I've mentioned before, you've got kids who are, from what they learn, it opens up the world for them to come up with their own ideas and their own innovation and their own products and applications and hardware and all that fun stuff that lifts up their community, lifts themselves out of poverty, and therefore, as they say, high seas lift all ships. It helps the economic development of their country, of their community. And right here in the United States, we have a real problem with science and education and learning, and we are self-censoring ourselves because of politics. And that's not to say that there isn't politics in other countries that's doing censoring. So good examples, I've spent a lot of time in Thailand, and you cannot say anything bad about the royal family there or the king. You just cannot. Or if something's considered extremely morally dubious, that's not okay. So when I'm bored, I fucking really do hate the Daily Mail out of the UK. It's horrible. But, when Meghan Markle became part of the royal family, I was interested, because, hey, we got this half-black woman who's part of the royal, half-black American woman that's part of the royal family. Like, that's going to end up well. And it didn't. But that's besides the point. So I was trying to read up all about that, when I was not doing anything in Thailand last year. And the best site to get the worst gossip is the Daily Mail. But at that point in time, the Daily Mail was blocked by the Kingdom of Thailand because they had run an article several years earlier where it was showing the current king not in a really good light. Him basically wearing a tank top with tattoos and strolling through a mall with he's got so many different girlfriends, wives, I can't keep up with that. But they told the Daily Mail to take it down. Daily Mail wouldn't take it down, so therefore they blocked it. I.e. why it's good for everyone to have a VPN, because usually if you've got a decent VPN, you can get around things in other countries. But that's a really good example of a country that's doing, a lockdown on information from their citizens via filtering in their own country. So you couldn't get to the Daily Mail and you couldn't get to any websites that were deemed by the government as inappropriate. Same thing happens in China. China, will block. I don't know if they're still blocking Facebook, but they blocked Facebook for a while, along some other websites that are not, complementary to the current government in China. And, same thing goes on in a lot of Middle Eastern countries, because, you don't want to have the citizens learn what's going on in other countries because they might revolt. And the funny thing is that, other countries are using that information to bring themselves up, and we here in the United States are trying to, we have the information, but we're trying to ignore it because we want to keep everyone down. I really don't understand how that works, but that's what's going on there. So I guess in a really roundabout way is what I'm saying is that it's not the rise of cloud computing that has done anything, but it's the rise of the internet. The rise of the internet is one of the best things to have ever happened to humanity, and also one of the worst things that have happened to humanity, because knowledge is free. Now you have to be smart enough to filter through the knowledge that you're getting, because there's a lot of bullshit and garbage out there, and more every day. You talk about, fake news, fake polls, fake. There's a lot of fake websites out there. There's a lot of propaganda that's out there, and you've got to be intelligent enough and discerning enough to be able to dissect the information that you're getting in to know what is true and what's not true. And there are sources out there that you can trust. It's difficult when you start having government sources that are being run for political means. Like I would have told you before, you would always be okay going to, NASA or the Park Service or something like that in order to understand some questions here in the United States. And now ever since the Trump regime has come in, they've been filtering information that's more complementary to what their goals are in the world. So science and facts and stuff just aren't important here anymore. But there's still independent places you can go to learn things and become educated and learn facts. And, from those things, go take a direction or under things for yourself. But, maybe that's neither here nor there. Or it is here. It's here and there, because it is important in so much as that it gives the opportunity for people in other countries to come up with innovative ideas that they can sell to the rest of the world, and therefore, create companies in their own countries that become known worldwide, like, a Microsoft or an Apple, or, and it's already happened, because, let's talk about a TikTok, which is a Chinese company, which everybody knows that the name of that company, right? And that is a Chinese company. So it's happening. It's out there. And another one, I can think of another country. If right now, when you think about drone footage or anything taken with a drone, you think about DJI. DJI is the number one company right now if you want to buy a drone and play with drones, and that's another Chinese company. So, it's not limited to the United States to have innovative technological ideas anymore. So so it has nothing to do with cloud computing and more about access to the internet. But I want to circle back for one more second here. It's still, no matter what, does not stop China or India from being economic powerhouses, though, because here's another thing that's really important to know, that for all the legacy, let's call them legacy companies in the world right now, you've got gigantic markets in India and in China. Those countries are so populous that you would be a fool to not want to sell to them. So you want them to be in a higher economic level so they can actually afford your goods, because, my God, can you think about how much profit that is? Just think about it. But here's another side to that story, if you think about it too, that if the people in those countries become more educated and you maybe have a little bit more freedom in India, they have it more freedom, at least more than in China. But they can make some homegrown products of they can make homegrown products themselves that could be the equal or superior to anything that's been made in the United States, because there's more access to education, right? So, and if there's any type of nationalism whatsoever, why should I buy something from Apple when I can buy something from an Indian company and support my people and my country and, my nationalistic ideas? Because at the end of the day, as much as we want things to be one world, and I hope people don't misinterpret what I'm saying right here, because I do not think anti-globalist sentiment is a good sentiment to have. We all need to get along with each other. We all have things in this world that are unique and interesting, that are worth learning about and sharing and having amongst us all. No country, no culture in this world is better than the other. And when you don't study them and you don't visit them and you have nothing to do with them or work with them, your life is far less rich because of it. I'm telling you that right now. If you do not deal with people in other countries, other cultures and stuff, your life is just far, far less rich. But at the end of the day, you always want to be rah, 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 whatever your country is. So I guarantee you that if they come up with a really good competitor to, let's say, Microsoft in India, they'll do it. And they'll get the money. And they'll get the support. The only thing that really kind of helps with a lot of U.S. companies still maintaining that economic growth, not the growth, but economic stranglehold, at least on technology, is because they're well-known names, right? Like everybody knows Microsoft, everybody knows Apple. And on top of it, a lot of the products that they put out there have become the de facto standards around the world. Good example being Windows, and then followed up by, the Mac operating system, the Apple OS operating system, and Android too. Well, we can throw Android in there. And you have to have some, at least from a technology standpoint, you have to have a standard so that everybody can jump in and work and collaborate on things together. Because if everybody's doing their own thing on their own different standard, then things don't work. That is why it is so easy to be able to take Microsoft Excel documents and put them into, I forgot the Google equivalent of spreadsheets, but you can kind of go back and forth between them really easily, because that's the only way Google was ever going to get any more market share for their version of Office products. Because if there isn't any type of connection, I can't think of the word I want right now, but God, I feel so like verbally constipated because I can't think of the right word that I want. But if you don't have the ability for the two items to work not seamlessly but well enough with each other, then you never have a chance of getting market share on a newer product. Because why should somebody want to go from something to something new unless what they had was absolutely awful? So, if they say if it ain't broke, why fix it? And still, the reason why Google's getting more market share when it comes to their Office applications is just because they're far cheaper than Microsoft products. It's not that they're better, it's that they're cheaper. So they're getting more and more people interested in it because it's cheap, which kind of brings me back again to education and the internet. And the internet makes everything free. You're more likely to get education, more likely to reach out. Can you see the cycle that goes on here that I'm trying to talk about? What the great leveler is when it comes to economics these days, at least from a technology standpoint. I have people who are friends of mine who are finance guys, and they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant, and maybe one day I'll point them out to you. I'm not a finance person. I'm a technology person. I'm a technology person and an observer of the human nature. And right now, that's what the world is about. The world may as well be called the internet, because the internet has been the great leveler and the great if the internet wasn't so important, why would we be complaining about Russians hacking the U.S. election? That can only happen through social media and through the internet. All these problems these days are because of how easy it is to access the internet. So I don't know if that answers your question. I hope it does. I appreciate it. Thank you for sending the question out. I don't really have I don't have any much. That's great English. I don't have much more to talk about today. I'm still kind of flabbergasted about the things that are going on in Portland, which maybe is something to be discussed next week for another show. I am concerned, since I live in Chicago, that there's going to be Trump Goombas walking through the city here, abducting people and throwing them in the back of vans. I mean, I keep telling everybody, like, you just got to survive. You got to survive. Try to survive through January, which there's still no guarantees. Trump could miraculously get reelected, or something else happen where we're stuck with him. And basically, I'm just saying, if you're a U.S. citizen right now, it's going to be a wild ride, especially starting in August, all the way through to January. And if we get rid of them, it's still not going to get better, I think, in the U.S. until around April at the very least, because it's going to, as I said before, I think I might have mentioned it last week, it's going to take a new regime to come in to get coronavirus under control in the U.S. I thank you all for spending some time again with me this week. Sorry if it's kind of a short show with me just rambling on about technology, but again, I appreciate the question. I had tried to do a video version of this, but the camera wasn't working, probably because I'm too fat that I broke the camera, because COVID-19 is not for the year that it was discovered, but for how many pounds you put on. I'll be working on it this week, but not gonna lie, not happy about that. I want to be better. I want to be healthy, but I certainly don't want my ass in a gym right now. People sick. People sick, yo. People sick and they still dying. Anyways, maybe next week we'll finally get a video podcast. I'm trying. I need to see why the camera wasn't working. But for now, I'm still trying to stay semi-regular because I take Metamucil. Metamucil, you owe me $500 for mentioning you in a podcast. Please give it to me. No, for real. I'm going to try. I have been trying to be semi-regular with these podcasts, so you never know what I'm going to discuss next week. No idea. But thanks for being here this week. As usual, what I always say is be well, be healthy, be safe, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.